This is
Make It Plain.
Make It Plain.
MIP
With Masamela Matfumo.
Mark Thompson.
Make It Plain.
Get woke.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest has over 20 years of grassroots organizing experience. He actually succeeded our friend Nina Turner as the head of Our Revolution in 2019. He is the executive director now. He's worked in the Fight for 15 and many other very important campaigns. Please welcome now to Make It Plain, Joseph Geevarghese. Joseph, how are you, buddy?
I am well, brother. It's good to be with you, Reverend.
It's good to have you with us. So, man, I live in New York. I don't understand what's going on, so we invited you to explain to the whole world what's going on in New York. Only you can do that. So take it away, Joseph.
Well,
what's happening?
I can't speak about the incompetence of the Board of Elections, but I can say that, look, I think it's exciting that we're using ranked choice voting in this moment. It's a much more democratic way to elect our officials. And, I think what this process shows is that progressives are doing well in New York. Rev, I think the top line from New York is, progressives did incredibly well at the top of the ticket citywide. When you think about Brad Lander taking out an establishment, former council speaker, you've got Jumaane Williams, who blew it out of the water. And then you've got a new bench of progressives on the city council, and like Tiffany Caban. And even if Eric Adams becomes mayor, he's going to have to contend with a much more progressive political movement in the city.
Yeah. You all endorsed Maya Wiley, correct?
That's right.
So as it stands, the election still isn't resolved, right? And she's still, her name is still in the game, isn't it?
She is still in the game. And, I think the main thing with Maya's race is, her surge happened a little bit too late. And I think that is a reflection of the progressive movement failing to coalesce early enough behind her candidacy. There was a lot of support for Morales early on. There was a lot of support for Stringer, but both of those campaigns, self-destructed in some ways. And unfortunately, if even we had 2 weeks, a month lead time, I think we could have made a much more significant difference in Maya's race. She's not out of the game, but I think we could have had her finish much stronger if the progressive movement had united earlier.
So you really think that the ranked choice voting has done well in terms of what it was designed to do? I mean, there's still a lot of New Yorkers who are very confused by it, and we won't know until the final tally is in what role it might have played in any of this. That's too early to tell. But you, and as someone who's a progressive myself and has always been an advocate of proportional representation of things like that, being here in New York, I heard a different side. There were those who really had a lot of concerns about ranked choice voting and were very confused by it, and they almost convinced me, so maybe this is too soon, maybe people should have been more knowledgeable, maybe people know all the stakes. But give us your perspective, Joseph. You think it's been okay?
Yeah, look, our goal as progressives and our path to winning as progressives is to expand the electorate and give them as many opportunities to make their voice heard as possible. And so as part of a suite of democracy reforms, ranked choice voting is a way that we've seen in other jurisdictions that has helped put progressives in power. Is it complicated? Yes. Are there multiple rounds? Yes. Do we need to do a better job as organizers, educating people on how the process works, how to, rank people. Yes, we got to do all that. But that being said, in the places where it's been utilized, progressives have come out on top. We just this year flipped the St. Louis City Council, meaning made it a much more progressive city council. And that was due to ranked choice voting. A lot of progressives were didn't necessarily, they were in tight first place races, but they prevailed, during the second and third round. Same thing in San Francisco. Chesa Boudin, who is one of the most progressive DAs in the country, he won in 2019 because of ranked choice voting. So a lot of the progressives that you're starting to see on the national stage are getting there because we have reforms like ranked choice voting. The binary system by itself tends to, one round sometimes tends to favor the establishment.
Yeah. Tell us about how Maya came to be the real progressive candidate and the candidate for our revolution.
Well, the truth is our folks were divided early on, and there was a lot of energy for Morales, but it dissipated. And it dissipated in the face of what seemed like hypocrisy, right? You had a candidate talking the talk, but not quite walking the walk.
Right.
Scott Stringer, progressive track record, but again got hampered by accusations that came up that were inconsistent with progressive values. And so with Maya, you had someone who was running an incredibly progressive campaign, progressive messaging. And then the other part that I think is important is her campaign was incredibly competent, right? And you've got to have both in order to win, right? As progressives, we have our idealism, right? We have a message that I think resonates, but the only way to win is you got to marry the message with a winning strategic campaign. And that's what Maya brought to the table. And that's why our members ultimately decided that they were going to recommend that our members in New York vote for Maya number one, and didn't offer a number two choice.
Yeah. So now that's interesting. So people voted for her number one.
Yes.
And not a number two. But
That's
now,
right.
so did members vote that way as well, or did they actually end up ranking them? Because I know you could have endorsed a one or two or three, but in terms of voting, do you know how many Our Revolution folk actually voted for a 2 and 3 on the ballot? Do we have any idea of that?
Well, in the actual election itself?
Yes.
We don't know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so what do you think about that? Because there's some who are suggesting that it really undermines the new system of ranked choice voting if you only vote for one person. How do you feel about that? And we don't know if anybody did on your side, but we know some people did somewhere. What are your thoughts about that and people who just maybe voted for one person? Does that hurt that particular voter not to put a full array of choices on their own behalf? Does it disproportionately benefit any candidates? What do you think about that?
Well, I think it hurts the voter in terms of having their voice fully heard, right? I mean, if you pick one person, your voice only counts once. If you do rank, you have more opportunities, right, to have your voice counted in the process. So, that being said, you've got to have a viable second, third, and fourth choice. And unfortunately for progressives in this race, I'm not sure we did. When you looked at, you had Maya Wiley, and then you had two other candidates who didn't do well. But imagine if those votes had all consolidated behind Maya. It would have been a much more significant lead for the sister.
Right. More MIP after this message.
What up, y'all? It's Torre, author of I Would Die For You, Why Prince Became an Icon. Check out Who Was Prince, an epic 8-episode podcast about Prince, where we talk to his girlfriends, his musicians, his engineers, his managers, all sorts of people who were close to him to find out who he really was. Follow Who Was Prince wherever fine podcasts are streamed.
If, for example, those who voted for either Adams or Garcia, if they had Maya as their second, she ought to be sitting pretty well right now.
No, that's right. And that's what we don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think what we would hope in a situation like this. And you're right, she did surge.
Yes.
I mean, my gut tells me that whoever didn't pick Maya first, probably very likely picked Maya second or third. I would be surprised if that was not the case. Wouldn't you be surprised?
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right.
And you're right, she ran a good campaign. No controversy.
Yes.
You know, it was tight. So it's not as if she had no negatives come up during the campaign, as you mentioned, some of the other candidates that did. So this thing really isn't over yet, is it?
No, it's definitely not over. You know, but again, it's not over, and we're just talking about the mayor. But we've got a powerful progressive city council.
That's right, you said that.
Incredibly progressive public advocate who's, going to be a check on whoever the mayor is. We've got a controller that is going to use the power of the purse for progressive policies. So overall, I think it's good. I think Maya's still in the race. But no matter how it ends, I think we can say that, the mainstream media's analysis that, Eric Adams ran away with this, and this is some kind of referendum on moderates versus progressives momentum around the country is not accurate. Because if you look beneath that headline, progressives did amazingly well. And I think moderates in the country should be concerned.
Yeah, yeah. So here's the question I think everybody wants to hear you explain if you can. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sure.
Where are we in the process? What's next? When will we know the answer, Joseph?
You tell me, brother. That's, I think that is the $1 million question. Yeah, when will, and look, there's a lot of administrative errors in this process. I think, unfortunately, because of those administrative errors, we're going to see litigation, and, this may get drawn out. And look, unfortunately, this is, again, ranked choice voting is democracy enhancing. It gives we the people more power, more say. It's unfortunate that we bungled it in New York City, this first rollout, because you see people like Trump and others start pointing to, look, there's voter irregularities, in New York and every place else. And it feeds that false narrative that we can't stand on the integrity of our electoral system, which is problematic because the other side primarily wants to suppress the vote and limit our access to power at the ballot box. And, the debacle in New York, even though Republicans have nothing to do in New York, really have no muscle to flex, right? They're going to use that as an example of Democratic incompetence in terms of administering elections. And it's going to give Republicans more fuel in their voter suppression efforts around the country. That is the unfortunate takeaway, I think, from this situation. Not that ranked choice voting is bad.
Right. And we know national Republicans will use it even where local Republicans can't. Be remiss if I didn't ask about Nina Turner's race. She seems to be doing well.
Nina Turner, yes. And, Rev, I think, how do we know she's doing well? We know she's doing well when Hillary Clinton comes out and endorses her opponent. We know that Sister Nina Turner's doing well when Jim Clyburn yesterday, right, put his stamp of approval behind Nina's opponent, right? You've got the entire establishment trying to consolidate behind Shontel Brown and stop Nina from getting to the U.S. House. And I think that shows her momentum, and that's a good sign. Now, that being said, we have to keep being disciplined on the doors, on the phones, going into this home stretch. Voting is a little over a month away. The election is a little bit over a month away, and early voting starts on July 7th. So, the contest is on. Nina is strong in terms of fundraising. Our experience on the doors and the phones, our members who are canvassing it's been incredibly positive. I think there is a lot of grassroots support for her. I think she's positioned to win. And then the test question here is, can the establishment in this moment organize itself to stop her? And I think that's what you're beginning to see with these elites outside of Ohio beginning to weigh in.
tell us what else our revolution is taking on these days.
Well, we are really grounded in a mission of organizing around electing progressive champions around the country, up and down the ballot. We came out of Bernie's 2016 presidential run. A lot of people think, we're just organization that's all around Bernie. But the truth is, we're an organization that's all around Bernie's vision of electing as many progressive champions as possible up and down the ballot all around the country. And so this year, we've elected over 100 progressive champions. In 2021, an off year. And, those range from school board members in Oregon to city councilors in St. Louis, Joliet, Illinois, district attorney candidates like Larry Krasner. So our groups have been very focused on electing progressive champions in this off year when, elections aren't necessarily front and center. There are a lot of important down ballot elections. That's one thing our folks have been doing around the country. Second thing is focused on advancing progressive policies, both in Washington at the local level. In Washington, we're really focused on getting our progressive policy priorities passed. We've got really two shots at the apple on Capitol Hill to make sure that Joe Biden and establishment Democrats deliver on their promises. They promised to expand Medicare. They promised to address the climate crisis. Even though they didn't go as far as Medicare for all or the Green New Deal, there's still very transformational things that they can do this summer that would make an impact on the lives of people. So, what we're focused on is making sure Democrats deliver on Medicare expansion, right? We've got the reconciliation bill and the infrastructure bill, 2 bites at the apple. And look, if we can lower the Medicare age to 60, millions of people will have more access to healthcare. If we can make sure seniors have access to vision, dental, hearing benefits, that's more healthcare. If we can get the U.S. government to negotiate with big pharma, we can get affordable drugs for millions and millions of people. That is doable, and Democrats ran on it, and we're going to hold their feet to the fire on delivering. In terms of the climate, we just did a massive rally yesterday on Capitol Hill. For us, the red line is continued support of the U.S. government for the extraction of fossil fuels, right? I mean, if you think about root causes, right? And that's what, as radicals, we're trying to get as, right? Radical means the root, right? We're trying to get at the root causes of problems. For us, it's the extraction of fossil fuels, the continuous outflowing of oil and gas, and the fact that the U.S. government spends billions of dollars bankrolling Exxon and other companies to do it. And, look, the only way to get out of this mess is we stop bankrolling it. We stop incentivizing continued drilling, continuing laying of pipes around the country. And so we have a shot in this infrastructure bill and or the budget reconciliation bill to get the U.S. government to say no more money for these dirty industries. I think keeping it in the ground is something that could be transformational. And we're organizing to win that. The other thing that we're doing, Rev, in addition to electing progressive champions up and down the ballot, fighting for our top progressive priorities, is also working within the Democratic Party to make it much more progressive. And we have activists all around the country, from Baltimore, Maryland to California, who are running for key party positions. And that's important because in our, two-party system, a party really does control access to who can represent us on the ballot. And so that's another thing that we've been focused on as well.
Yeah, and it's also very local too.
Yeah, that's right.
There's always a lot of focus on the national party committee, but folks, Joseph is right. It's what I keep stressing. Politics is local. The struggle is local. And people need to be aware of that. More MIP after this message. What grade, if any, is our revolution giving Joe Biden so far?
So I think it's probably premature
Okay.
to grade him, meaning we've got 2 opportunities, maybe 3, but at least 2 opportunities for him to deliver. Has he delivered on his core promises to improve the standard of living of Americans? Not yet, right? We don't have a $15 an hour minimum wage. We don't have more health care for people. We don't have an end of polluting industries, right? Curbs on polluting industries. He has not yet delivered on improving the material conditions of the American people, I would argue. Has he helped make sure the ravages of the pandemic the edges are softened? Yes. Right. But in terms of transformational change, we haven't seen it yet. And he's got 2 opportunities to do it. We have this infrastructure bill. And the problem with that is they're negotiating the infrastructure bill with Republicans. And to get to a bipartisan deal, that means a lot of our progressive priorities get tossed to the side. That being said, we then have the reconciliation bill. And we need the president and we need Democrats to really hold the line on making sure whatever is not in the infrastructure bill makes it into the budget reconciliation bill. And so that's where I think the test for Biden will be, right? Are people going to have more health care or not? We're going to know out of that reconciliation bill. Are people's wages going to go up? Are there going to be more jobs or less? So the critical test for this presidency will be this summer. And then the final test is going to be whether we can overcome the filibuster threat, right? And, right now it doesn't look like we can. But if the president uses the power of the bully pulpit, if the president takes a page out of the Republican playbook, we could amend the rules in the Senate. We could empower Kamala Harris to be a deal breaker. Right? I mean, a deal maker and cast the deciding vote. But the president's got to act. And there's a lot of pieces of legislation that are not germane to the budget that will need to get around the filibuster to pass. So, it's a critical moment for Joe Biden. He talked a good talk.
Right.
He adopted a lot of the things that Bernie Sanders campaigned on and that our movement supports. But he has yet to deliver. And that's going to be crucial, not just for his legacy, whether he decides to run again in 2024 or not, but it's going to matter for Democrats in the midterms, Right. And if Republicans are going to be able to campaign on, look, he made a lot of promises and none of them were kept, I think, we're going to have a problem, in the midterms, and we may be at risk of losing our control of the House and the Senate, and then ultimately in 2024 the presidency.
Yeah, would you advocate Bernie running again, whether Joe runs again or not?
We need to look. Yes, we need. I would argue that part of the way the progressive movement has advanced is by challenging the establishment, not saying, not allowing people to say, "Oh, it's my turn." Right. I'm up. I would encourage any progressive standard bearer to take it up. And we've got to, because we will advance our movement by holding those in power accountable to what they said they would deliver. And look, if Joe Biden fails to deliver and he runs again, I think there should be a challenge from the left.
Okay. All right. Well, we shall see. We shall also see what happens with the New York mayoral race. Great conversation, folks. And check out Our Revolution as well. With the website, ourrevolution.org.
.com.
I'm sorry, ourrevolution.com. Yeah, man. Well, let's keep in touch. And good luck to Nina Turner as well. I had advocated that if Bernie had won the nomination, he should have made Nina his running mate. But if she makes the Congress, who knows what might happen.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Our goal is to put progressives like Nina Turner on a path to power, right? That's how we're going to realize the world we want to live in.
Absolutely. So I pronounced it right the first time. Let me see if I remember to do it the second time. Joseph Geevarghese. Did I get it?
Geevarghese.
Geevarghese, both hard G's. Got it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We are in the club of the white beard. You are Joseph and myself, which is not about age, it's about wisdom. Wisdom.
That's right.
All right? Am I right? That's right about that. So good to talk to you, buddy. OurRevolution.com, folks. Let's see what happens in this mayoral race in New York. It's going to continue to be a cliffhanger. We'll see what happens. Thank you, Joseph.
All right. Thank you, Rev.
Thanks for getting woke and listening to Make It Plain. Please remember to listen, like, and wherever you get your podcasts, please give the show a 5-star rating. And please do spread the word. Let's all continue to pray for each other during this pandemic and this police-demic. If all hearts and minds are clear, it has been made plain.